Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Thursday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. You'd think I'd learn my days before we start this, but I'm always searching for it. And I don't know why. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. The orange down the big red, 80-68. You'll hear from us. We'll hear from you and fan feedback. In Syracuse, we'll take on UVA at home this Saturday at 6 p.m. We'll let you know what we think about that. And since it's a conference game, we will give you our picks, as long as I remember to do it. So, speaking of games at the Dome, well, isn't this fancy? Joe, did you hear this?
I don't know what you're going to say, so I can't tell you.
According to SI Syracuse, fans may purchase from a limited offering of food and beverages, including beer and wine. All food and drinks must be consumed while seated, though. That's not going to be enforceable. But they are bringing the food and beer back to the Dome because, obviously, a terrible idea. Pretty much everything else stays in place. Fans age 5 and up are required to provide proof of vaccination or a COVID test, negative COVID test, shown at the gate. The lounge, the courtside lounge, still closed. Club 44, still closed. Backcourt activities in concession areas remain closed. Pre-game courtside gathering will be prohibited. And tailgating in the parking lot prior to games will be prohibited. Good luck with that one as well. So they decided to bring back food and beer. Now, that's probably the big one. I'd say the 5 and up thing is not great either, but that might be next. They do mention here newborns to age 4 do not require a vaccination or a test. Wow, okay. Hence the 5 and up require one. Goes without saying. Okay. So hopefully they do this right before the UVA game, and hopefully we will see a difference in the crowd size. Not terrible last night. It was better than I thought it was going to be, but with that said...
No, we talked about that, though. Cornell was close. I did see a lot of Cornell guys in the seats.
Right. That's true. We talked about that last night. If you did not hang out with us last night during the game, well, shame on you, okay? Because we had fun. But not everybody loved it, which is fine. Don't really... I'm not bothered by it. But look, if you wanted to watch the game, that was the place, and you couldn't get it. Where else were you going to get it? So
right.
We did a Facebook
So just
Live.
for everyone to know, if we ever do that, then we're most likely going to be talking like that and going back and forth with some of the comments in the thread, and that's what it's going to be like. So you're either going to have to mute it or deal with it.
Here's the thing, right? And here's the thing. I labeled it as Syracuse basketball fan chat. That's literally what it was labeled as on Facebook. So it's right there before you click on it. The word chat is in the headline, and so we don't need to sit there and talk the whole time, but it is fun. And there's been a couple times where I did this by myself, or Joe wasn't able to join, and I'm not going to sit there and talk by myself. That's boring, stupid. So we kind of skipped all that. But, and I just kind of left quiet. Actually, I left the room. I just turned it on, put the camera on it, and left the room. But if Joe's going to be there and there's going to be, between 60 and 70 people watching and there's a bunch of banter in the chat room, well, by golly, we're going to have some fun with it. So anyways, I appreciate everybody who did tune into that. I was happy to do it. I'm glad we were able to do it. And part of me wishes we get more games on Yes, so we could keep doing it. Now, like I was saying, Joe, I'd do it more. I really would, because I think it's a blast. But I just don't think you get the turnout. Plus, it is 2 hours of, for me, it's sitting here at this at the podcast table, and it's not exactly comfortable back here. So, anyways, but that's not to say we won't do it again. All right. Decent win for Syracuse. Very similarly played to the Brown game to some extent. Let's take a listen to what Coach had to say in the press conference after the game.
The night against Brown, we got off to a really good start. Moved the ball, made some really good offensive plays. Our defense was good. Their pressure bothered Joe more than it should. It's his first game where he missed some outside open shots that he makes, and he didn't react well on with his ball handling, made some bad turnovers. And Cy came in and really struggled with the traps. Didn't seem like he knew where the ball has to go, and we couldn't play these guys on the bench. Frank got the ball twice in around the basket, and the 6'4" guy just took it away from him twice. He's 6'9", 230 pounds. I mean, he can't let that happen. The bottom line, we have to play better coming off the bench. We've got to get something there, and we're not getting it. We need to get something there for sure. We're trying to work with Benny to try to get him the ball down low, but he tries to go out to the perimeter and dribble against 6'4" guys. So he's got to use his size and get closer to the basket. We're trying to get Jesse the ball, and we're not doing a great job of it. We got to keep trying to do that. But Buddy is making some of the hardest shots I've ever seen. He's getting hit, everything. But, he's making really hard shots. But we need to get some help off our bench and continue to work on our defense. So it's a little better. Well, it was very important to get games this week. I wish we didn't have to be in a situation where we had to play 2 this week, getting into the league. I'd rather have just played 2 league games, but we couldn't do that. We needed the Brown game. The only time we were going to get the Cornell game in was Wednesday because they had a cancellation. So we have to save any open dates we have during the year if we get games changed. I think the biggest thing coaches and teams and schools are going to have to do is you might have to play back-to-back games. We do it in tournaments in the beginning of the year. You might have to do it. Well, last year we've talked about many times. It was an incredible year to respond the way we did, not just to win, but to just maintain, get through it, win the games in the end of the year. We had to play really well in the end of the season, and then the tournament, and then the NCAA tournament. The way we played was it was an unbelievable year. It's difficult this year. It's difficult for every team, and you have to just go play through it. Everybody's in the same situation. Everybody's going to go through this. I thought, again, we missed a lot of time. We missed a lot of practices, a lot of days, and our best players were out. So they've responded, worked their way through this, and I think have done an amazing job, And but we have to, you can't worry about stuff like that. You've got to get better. We've got to play better. We're playing at a level that's good, but we got to play better.
All right, the Coach Montage is brought to us by the Spotify Green Room. The second best thing to the Spotify Green Room is the Facebook Live. Okay, so if you enjoyed the Facebook Live, I would urge you to download the Spotify Green Room app. Go to your iOS or Android stores today and download that puppy. It's free. All you need is a username, an email address, and a password, and boom, you are in there. And I was going to say in there like swimwear, but that's stupid, right, Joe? That's old, right? It's not cool anymore?
I'm not. I can't call that.
Okay, can't call it. Okay, fair enough. That's Joe for you. No idea, Joe. So, where was I? Oh, yes, download this app, okay? Follow us at Cuse Militia and sign up for notifications. So when we go live on the Spotify Green Room app, you can be notified. You can get in the room there. You can listen and chat, or you can request to speak. If I approve the request, a red microphone will appear above your icon or on your icon, hit that baby and unmute yourself and say your piece, and we can have some fun with it. So it is a little added boost to the fan feedback, and it's a lot of fun, and you can, you can get in on the action, which is phenomenal, and it's an easy way to do it. We tried for a long time to find an easy way to do this, and lo and behold, there's an app, and it's free. So go there today, download the app at your iOS or Android stores. It's free. Okay, Joe, let's start at the top of this thing, as we always do. First of all, it was in the presser, but not in the montage. Jimmy's going to be fine. And we saw him come back out and play, and he didn't seem to be bothered. He even did a little two-handed slam there shortly after. Didn't seem to be bothering him at all. Okay.
Best dunk of the game, or the season so year for him.
Say again?
It's the best dunk of the season for him this year.
Oh, sure. Knees to chest. It was beautiful. Pressure bothering Joe. Pressure bothering Cy. Pressure bothering pretty much everybody. The bench and Joe, I would say. But, a little concerning still, Joe. As we watch some of these guys improve, and even the defense, that's still kind of the one thing that's in the ether out there, just kind of being an issue a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought guarded the three-point line pretty well, but we did give up some shots, and we talked about it. I mean, we knew that they were going to hug up threes, and, I guess what's concerning more than anything is just like the runs that some of these teams tend to go on, where it's like we're playing good D, we're holding them, and then all of a sudden they score a bunch of quick points, and it's like, you know what I mean? So
yeah. They scored a quick 10 on us in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It felt like it was a quick 10 points. It
was probably something like that. Yeah, but that's one of those things that was obviously concerning to me, 100%. And then we knew that we kind of had trouble. That we've had trouble with that. Joe Girard's had issues with turnovers, and with teams that had pressed us like that, we saw that we sometimes made mistakes. And we had 11 turnovers the first half, but in the second half, I think we only have like 4 or 5. So clean it up a little bit, and it's good. I'm glad we actually saw a team kind of give us that kind of pressure, so we could kind of, make it a little bit more of a point of emphasis and know that we got to work on it and be ready for it, because Virginia's going to do that. Virginia's in your face defense.
Oh yeah, we struggle with them more than we struggle with anybody most of the time. And we can get into that. But next on here, Benny, not really focused on, I think, what he needs to do, or maybe is he better at, and as you heard Coach talk about him dribbling out and just, getting mugged. But the big thing out of that second part that I had in there was feeding Jesse, because Joe, you mentioned it last night. Once they started to do it, it got better. It's something that it should be top of mind for all of these guys to feed Jesse, get him the ball, and get him up in the air, and so he can make these shots, these easy shots, and also not only that, but build up his confidence a little bit, because when he's feeling it, boy, he's good. He's really good. Yeah, and it's all about consistency. Yeah,
well, again, you get a lot of times in the top of the key where you have Buddy and Joe trying to use the pick and roll with Jesse to, get some open shots, or, find a gap for penetration. And I want them to continue to do that, to get Jesse the ball. But also, like we talked about, they started getting them the ball. And if you can use, any one of those 4 shooters, if I was them, would want to feed Jesse the ball and hope that he can be successful, because then all he's going to demand a double team. So then someone's going to come and help. Jesse, he makes a couple buckets. Someone's going to come and help, which means that one of those 4 is open. So now you can start making passes. Jesse can kick it out, and now you have open shots, versus when, in the beginning, they're kind of playing us for a 3-point shot. They want us to drive and try to bring it down low.
Yeah. What about Benny? What are your thoughts on Benny again, with, being in there? 14 minutes.
He just got to shoot a 3-pointer, right?
He just gotta. Look, you had.
Seems like every game.
Between the 3 main bench players, Benny, Samir, and Frank, you had 39 minutes and 5 points. And we saw Sy turn the ball over. He did come back and redeem himself immediately after he turned the ball over and blocked an easy layup. And that's, that makes up for that. A horrible mistake, in my opinion. But the 5 points in 39 minutes between the five of these, I mean, it's not great, but, Samir he had 4 assists in there, too.
Well, he went on a little spurt. I remember
he did right when he came in.
We talked about it, and then all of a sudden he had a turnover, but then he had that block, and then he had a steal. So, I mean, a lot of his stuff happened in a couple minutes as well. So I think as far as the bench players go, I mean, Benny, I thought, played the most consistent throughout the minutes that he played, although he didn't, blow up, the world. I mean, he had 2 steals, and the block was pretty nice, 3 rebounds and an assist, and, I mean, for the most part, he was where he needed to be on defense. It's just on offense, he still, feels a little. No, I love the fast break with Sy, where he filled the left side, and Sy stayed in the middle and opened up that alley-oop. I mean, that was beautiful, and that's what they need to do. That's when I saw that play, we talked about it. I mean, that's what we miss. I mean, that's what I remember as a Syracuse fan growing up.
Oh yeah,
our bigs getting the rebound. Kicking it out to the guards and running fast breaks, and this team just does not have it. And when I saw that play with Symir and him, out dribbling and the defense, and they couldn't get back and get set with Benny, someone athletic getting down there, and I mean that's what we're lacking. And if they can come in and they can provide us some of that, then that would be great. Obviously, though, but to your point, what they brought, you want to see a little bit more. Stats with the minutes that they put in there. But I mean, if Benny just worries about that, you just got to be the hustle guy that's on defense, doing what he needs to do, getting those defensive stats like he did. But 2 turnovers and a bad 3-pointer, it's pretty tough. Jim talked about it during the presser. He's going to be having guys that are smaller than him guarding him, and he's not the most polished dribbler. And when you're lower to the ground, as these other, defenders are, it's very hard to dribble past them or make a move or something like that. So, Benny, he's got to already be down low when he gets the ball to do something. And he just, offensively, he hasn't hit that stride yet. But defensively, I feel like you're starting to see someone who's going to be able to come in and at least give Jimmy and Cole a breather and play some nice defense.
Back to the alley-oop there. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. It's a glimmer of hope. Not for anything. And these guys got still early in the season, and the chemistry obviously is building a little bit. And so you got to take that as a positive, even though it's just one play. But, albeit in transition in the way you got to be, in the way you got to have it to be successful. And not for anything, I think they have some of the athleticism to do these things. It's just like, sometimes Benny looks lost. A couple of the guys look lost. Joe looked lost last night, for crying out loud. So it happens. So Coach mentioned it's important to get these games back. We're going into the days or a week before full conference play here. Going to be facing Virginia, and a good, decent home game to start. I guess it'll be our second home ACC game too, to start off against. A good ACC opponent and a good defense. So some good practice on the court for the Orange, and also gameplay, which is what we needed. And we talked about that, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but figured we'd mention it. The response from the COVID pause, you expect the team to be a little bit lethargic, maybe kind of lazy and maybe rusty, but they started both of these games really good. It was the end of each first half where it was kind of, I don't know if it was arrogance or maybe just overconfidence, where mistakes happened, and they let they let Brown and Cornell back in late in the first half. I think we had a 6-point lead against Brown from 14, and then I don't remember what it was. Was it? What was the largest lead of the half for Syracuse against Cornell? Do you know? Either way, it was 5 at the half. And they were winning that thing handily at one point. So they had scored, 8 points in 10 minutes or something like that, Cornell had. So
Yeah, no, it was up there. Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways, good to see them come out of a COVID pause. And last year, remember, we didn't know any of the details and who and all that stuff, and we still don't know for this time. Most of them, I heard it was 14, but last year we didn't see this quick. So that's good for them to do that. And like Coach said, they're going to have to. Other teams and Syracuse even, because they're going to have to make up for some of these other teams. Everybody's going to have to run through this thing at some point. Everybody's going to be on a pause, and everybody's going to have to be ready to play back-to-back games at some point, possibly. And it's just going to be that's how it's going to be for the season.
Yep.
And that's it. And it is what it is. I mean, it's what we're dealing with right now. So, anyways, all right, it's time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do. Go to Facebook and Twitter at the end of every game. I'll ask for your thoughts. Go ahead and leave those thoughts. We'll talk about them here. At least the ones I pick. So let's start with, don't have a ton again. Don't have a ton. Let's start with this. Let's start with at Turf on Fire. Not sure why Sidibe and Bull saw floored tonight. Point guard is a huge issue. You have Samir, who is a hard worker and high energy, but consistently makes mistakes and has no jumper. Then you have JG3, who has all the talent and a great shot, but makes dumb turnovers and lazy defense. And Joe is not a good ball handler. This team is screwed against the press. Joe picks up the dribble too early when pressed and panics and doesn't even seem to want the ball. And when I said Joe looks lost out there, I was mostly talking about the press. He did horrible against it. He's not historically done great against it. Yeah, I mean, it's I see it as a problem. And the good thing about the press is it's too much for a team to do it the whole game, right? So, I mean, I guess that's one positive.
Most teams, yeah.
Most teams, yeah. I mean, that's a feat in itself. So, yeah, they got to work on breaking it.
Yeah, we don't have. I mean, hopefully we can figure something out with guys. I mean, even we look back in the past when even Marek helped us bring the ball up, right? So, again, they're just going to have to figure it out. I mean, we have who we have. So whether it's, players, moving, setting better picks, doing something, I'd be willing to bet. Again, like I said, you get a game like this against Cornell, and now you're going against Virginia, and you better, that Virginia is going to be looking at that, knowing, you look at our games this year, every time we've got pressured, we've struggled. And so I'm sure that's going to be a point of emphasis for obviously probably today and tomorrow before the game on Saturday. So not to say it's going to be 100% fixed, but they got to figure out something, whether that means running different plays or, changing who's passing the ball in, or, they're just going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, what do you think about Sidibe and Bull seeing the floor? Obviously, I think we're going to see Sidibe as much as he can put him in there to get him out there to see what he can do. He's probably going to test him as long as he can. And, what did Jesse play? 27 minutes. He was in a little bit of foul trouble, ended up being disqualified. So you got to test these guys out, I think, a little bit, at least a little bit. And Frank is kind of a consistent guy, right? But he wasn't great last night either. And so I think coach was like, all right, well, let me try these guys out. And I think that's all that was. And if you look at it respectively, John Bull with 3 minutes and Sidibe with 2, you got to get, especially Sidibe, well, both of them for different reasons, but you got to kind of get them out there, I feel like, to get their feet wet and just get a feel for something, right? So
no, we got to see what's going on. Obviously, you got to get Barama a little bit going, and you got to give him a few minutes to see how his knees react, right? I mean, I think it's just a positive in itself that he played a couple minutes 2 days ago, and he wasn't too sore to come out and play a couple minutes this game. Obviously, he's not, it's little by little, but, again, if we can turn him, if he can get in, keep his knees healthy and he can get into close to whatever he was when he was last healthy, then, I mean, you're probably looking at somebody who could be, a backup option over maybe Frank. And as far as John Bull, he played on the wing. So, again, it could have just been something where, right now we only have Swider and we only have Jimmy and Benny, right? And, we saw real quick, just one little random box out, your arms get stuck with somebody else's arms, and now you got one of your better wing players that maybe got a separated or dislocated shoulder or something that popped out real quick, right? So what if that was more, more of a worse injury, then you're down a wing player. So maybe he was looking at a little bit of that too, is, I lose one of these guys, then what am I looking at here? Do I got somebody off the bench? So just to get him in there and get him a couple minutes, I didn't see a problem with it, especially with the time that they did go in as far as at the point of the game.
At Baptized by Fire, 7 to Dome Nacho's point here. Our point guard play when pressured is terrible. Too many turnovers. We have lost by 10 the way we played tonight. We would have lost by 10 Let me try this again in English. We would have lost by 10 the way we played tonight against the glob of middle of the road ACC teams. I don't see how that gets better. Well, I mean, look, it's got to get better, right? And I think that it's brilliant analysis. I think that it's to some degree, yes, Anthony. That's how they taught us to read at ESM. I think that when these guys are a little bit more on the hot seat, and when the pressure does come, especially later in the year, we've seen them rise to the occasion. It's like a flip switches with these guys, and we've seen it. And it almost doesn't matter on the player or just the roster in general. It's just one of those things that just Syracuse does. It's like what they do. They drag us along, and all of a sudden they, more times than not, turn it up at the end of the year. So, like, if this is a buy, sell, or hold, like doom and gloom type thing, I'm gonna sell, man. I think it's early. I do agree it is a problem. Everybody sees it. Joe has absolutely got to get better. But with Symir, Joe got taken out a couple times last night. He got the glare more than once, and he was benched for Symir. So someone's going to be motivated enough to eliminate their mistakes and do a better job. And Symir, I think he does a pretty decent job with the ball. I think his problem last night with, some of that stuff was a little overconfidence. I mean, sometimes when you're feeling it, you can get a little sloppy. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And again, too, I mean, we also have to understand that, Joe Girard's been pretty consistent this year, and I think we do understand what his weaknesses are. But he also tends to have these WTF games too, right?
All the time.
I feel like last night, I mean, I don't know about all the time this year, but I know last year it was like a coin flip on whether or not, if he plays good, we could win. We need him to play good, or if he has that type of game, right? And I think he's having fewer of those this year. But I think this was really his first real bad one, real obvious one, where it was, 5 points, wasn't shooting well. I mean, some of the turnovers, it wasn't even really him, how many turnovers did he have?
5.
I know 2 of them were him literally just not catching the ball.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff,
not paying attention.
Some of that stuff was just focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of that stuff was just, are you in it? So who knows what's going on? You never want to judge a player on one game because you never know what's really going on in their personal lives or what's going on behind closed doors. So that happens, and some things happen, and you never really know. And I don't want to speculate, but again, you just hope that it doesn't become routine over just an anomaly or here few and far between.
By the way, the largest lead was 16. And at the end of 10 minutes, Cornell only had 5 points. So just to clear that up, because I was confused by it. Not confused. I wouldn't say I was confused. I wasn't sure. At Bald Sports Dude, they couldn't handle a press from Cornell. Trash. Well, that's a great point. I mean, you got to look, like we just said, we're heading in to play Virginia albeit at home, hopefully a big crowd. But yeah, you look at Cornell, I mean, they're not exactly a Virginia or ACC level defense, and that's concerning. So we'll just have to see. And I'm interested because in this game a lot, I don't know how much it's going to tell us. I think it will tell us a little bit, but as far as Virginia goes, and we'll get into it, I mean, they're not exactly lighting it up themselves currently. So we'll talk about that, or I'll let Joe talk about it. At Tony Staffieri on Twitter, that might be one of 1,000 wins for Boeheim, but it wasn't one of his shining moments. Yeah, well, I mean, but as we always say, an ugly win's better than a pretty loss, and you'll take it. And coming out of a COVID pause, and we're going through a little bit of a gauntlet of games here, I feel like it's fine. They showed their stuff. You know, and they let Cornell get back in, and I don't think it's great, but we did see changes in the lineup and things a lot throughout the game. And like I said, Benny had 14, Samir had 14, and Frank had 11. So it was a perfect opportunity to get those guys out there. And, you know, you can attribute some of that final score at the end of the day to some of that stuff. Because, you know, let's be honest, they're not going to get those minutes probably against a UVA, you know, unless we're in some kind of foul trouble. So, you know. Right. All right. So before we finish up, we will finish up with the Facebook fan feedback, and then we will talk about UVA, and we'll let you know what we think about that. But first, one more time, let's talk about the Spotify Green Room app. Get in there. You can hang out with us, chat, or request to speak. Sign up for notifications at Cuse Militia, and the best thing is you don't have to just listen to us. You don't have to just follow us. There's plenty of other people to follow. A number of topics ranging from sports to pop culture to music, style, you know, if you're into that type of thing, movies, all that stuff. And you can even start your own show. You can do your own segment on there. Sign up for it's just tapping a button. You already got your email in there. You just tap the button to record this session. Hit record this session, and when you go live and you end your session, that file will be emailed to you via MP3. You can download that and then upload it to any podcast platform, and boom, there you go. It is the cheapest way to do it, and it only costs you just the price of a hosting service, which is about, you know, you can do it for peanuts, man. So anyways, go to the iOS or Android stores today and download the Spotify Green Room app. We appreciate all of you. Brandon on the Facebook. Swider is the key, and he's coming alive from three-point land. It's going to open up so many options for Buddy. This season is starting to look a little bit more promising. Well, that's a nice positive comment. I like that. Swider, 75% from behind the arc the past two games. And we're still waiting for him to really, really light it up. But he had a team. Oh, no, he didn't. 21 points to Buddy's 22. I was about to call it. 21 points to Buddy's 22. But, you know, 3 for 5 from behind the arc and 5 for 7 inside. So it's really good. By the way, no turnovers, 2 steals, and 5 rebounds. So, I mean, if he could put something like that together roughly every game, that's going to be giant for the Boeheim brothers going forward. Problem is, can he do it? So.
Well, yeah, and that's realistically what it is. I mean, the one thing with this coming out of the COVID that I actually, you know, enjoyed to see was because, I mean, you see earlier in the season, I mean, I didn't see Buddy taking over games and doing what he like. We're not going to make the tournament or win the games that we make last year unless Buddy doesn't start taking over like at the end of the year like he did last year. And he needs to play like that, you know, first team ACC level player every single game, especially against good players. But he's got to be the guy that's got to try to get established. And I thought that the last 2 games, him coming out, I mean, he's last 2 games off of this COVID break, he's 20 of 35 for 50 points. He scored the most points and taken the most shots in both games, and that's how it should be. Unless he gets to a point, obviously, where we've seen it where you get a team that just locks up their best defenders on him and makes it difficult for him, you know, and he's had some higher assist totals this year in some games because of that, and he knows how to be a team player. But he needs to know when he needs to step up and do and play like this. And if you can get like Cole Swider and Jimmy Boeheim combined against Cornell with 16 to 24 for 37 points, and if you can get that type of help on the other side, if you want to throw Jesse in there, then 20 of 29 for 48 points, right? So it's like when you get that type of help, and then you got Buddy to go along with it, we're going to score points. It's the other stuff. We don't get the fast break points as much. And, the rebounds, and especially long rebounds.
Oh, well, yeah, we were out rebounded too, and all long rebounds.
Well, they shot 46 threes.
30,
Thank you very much, Colgate and Cornell.
Yeah, 37 to 34. So
at the end of the day, there's little things that we know are our weaknesses, and all we can really do is try to get better. You talked about the rebounding, in years past where it's constantly gotten better and gotten better. I think it's to the point now where we kind of know where our players at. We know what their strengths are, and we know what we can rely on them to do. And I think it's the coach's jobs now to tweak stuff in practice and do what you need to do, no matter what, to fix your weaknesses. At least make them a little bit better, or try to hide them.
Right. And I had looked this up at one point early in the season, and I can't remember exactly where we were, but I know it wasn't good, and I'll come back to it to see where we are ranked for total rebounds. Damn, I wish I could find that. I wish I could look it up and see what I had written down. Unfortunately, I noted it on the computer screen, and it's wiped away. Jesse, good win. Thanks for the stream. Glad was able to watch some bench guys get some extended minutes. Yes, absolutely. I think that's what these games were all about. That's what we talked about before even the COVID pause. And absolutely, you're welcome for the stream. Enjoyed doing it. Happy to do it. And we got a couple of kudos on there and an email about the stream. So I love that. I appreciate it very much. One from Tampa here, Gary. Tampa. He wasn't getting the game. He appreciates it. Let's see. Where was I? Hold on. Let me go back to this here because I had these down. Okay. David, had some stretches of solid basketball. I think they will be ready by the conference tourney to make a run. Well, I hope so, because that's about the time. That's about the time. But honestly, give or take a couple games, that's about when it happens. Either happens right in the conference tournament or right before the conference tournament.
We'll know about 4 games before the well, if depending on, but you know what I mean. I think you need to be at a certain point once you get to a couple more games. When we get to the last block of 3 or 4 games before the conference tournament, then I think that's really going to tell us what we need, what we don't need, what's a must win, and all that kind of stuff. But for now, you just keep it going. Just cross your fingers, hope for the best,
Yeah, and we're going to be talking here pretty soon every game about quad wins. And when it gets into quad wins and we start breaking that down, then we really have a really good idea. Have we ever missed out on that? Like, we always knew, okay, well, we're on the bubble, but we should make it. And I think that thing's like, if the NCAA has done anything that's been good, it's been the quadrant system. And it gives people an idea of like what Syracuse has been for the past few years, being the caliber of team they've been. And
yeah, I mean, it's imperfect, but
but it seems to tell a tale, though. I mean, it's pretty damn good. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's close, but then when you look at Ken Pom, I mean, how close is it when you look back and forth? I think that a lot of the net ranking really just, relies on the record. When you look at, I know, especially early in the season, and, a lot of times you get these teams that only lose, 2 or 3 games, but they're in a crap conference and they didn't play anybody in non-conference. They'll be way up there in the net. And they still are teams that have to win their tournament. You know what I mean? So it paints a little bit of a picture, but I think that there's probably a little bit too much towards wins and losses.
It also does, though, break down where their wins are coming from. I mean, if you beat a quad 1 team, you beat a quad 1 team. I mean, it is what it is. But you can be, 10-0 against quad 2 and 0-1 in quad 1 and still be up there in the rankings because you did so well in quad 2. I mean, it is, but you're right. I mean, it's imperfect, but
right. But the other year when the Buffalo was a quad 1 win for us. Was that because Buffalo was really a quad one win, or was that because Buffalo just happened to have a good non-conference record and then just rolled through their conference?
The latter, yeah.
You know what I mean? So in some instances, it doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but I understand what you're saying. At least it brings some type of organization to it, right?
Organization, some type of picture. You're not left in the dark. Years before this, we always be wondering, and you get a decent idea, I guess is my point. You get a decent idea. Like you said, it's not perfect. By the way, Syracuse, total rebounds, 182nd, tied with, 180th, tied with Eastern Carolina and Jacksonville. Right ahead of Montana. And right behind East Carolina, for what it's worth. All right, Mike, on the Facebook. Swider seems to be finding his rhythm more and more. Joe G can't handle full court pressure. There it is again. Glaring issue. Obviously, everybody is seeing it. Way too many mistakes and turnovers. Like Benny getting more time. Boeheim boys are the Boeheim boys. But Torrance has got to hit free throws. Jesse dominated as usual, but he's got to stay out of foul trouble. Yeah, look. It's going to be tough for Jesse to stay out of foul trouble. He's just that guy. It's like Dolezaj. It's like, yes, Dolezaj has to stay out of foul trouble. We know. But he just has a tendency to foul. It's just how he is. You know what I mean?
I know. And I hope that, maybe it's something that we can fix because, he's getting in foul trouble against guys that are like, 5 inches shorter than him.
Smaller, yeah.
So, what happens when we get into play? And maybe... Who knows? Maybe it's just the ladder of, once he gets into ACC play. This Saturday against Virginia, he's going to be going against some big boys. And maybe, they'll let him play a little bit more. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier for him to keep his hands straight up, right? Who knows?
Over the backs are a big problem with Jesse. And we saw last...
But the over the back that they called
was terrible.
From the guy clean. I mean, when you don't touch him and, come over and,
But when you dominate size-wise against a guy... on the boards like that, it's just it looks very bad. But you're right. Yeah. That shouldn't have been an over the back, and it's just what are you going to do?
Well, and
you
that's
just
why
be careful.
I'm saying against some of these teams, and I know that he still was in foul trouble against some of these better teams in the tournaments and stuff, but especially against some of these smaller teams, I feel like that's kind of the case. He gets fouls called just because of obviously just the blatant difference in size, and I think we saw at least one of those last night.
Okay. All right, that does it for fan feedback. We appreciate all of you who participated in that, and download the app. Download the damn app, and we're gonna find. We should do the. And I'm being serious. We'll never reach 70. It would be amazing if it could happen, but I don't think it will. Could you imagine 70 people in the green room and people requesting to talk, how extended fan feedback and how much fun fan feedback could be, especially when, most of the people that will come into fan feedback enjoy us and like us. It'd be nice to get some people in there that disagree and don't like us. How much fun would that be? That'd be fun. That would be fun. So anyways, my point is that I went on a tangent. I'm going around my ass to get to my elbow here. What I was saying, Joe, is first of all, that would be really cool. It's a useful tool or resource. But we should plan another game, maybe a somewhat big away game or something where we can do another live, and we'll plan it out. We'll look at the calendar, plan it out, and go on the socials and have fan chat. And so if you don't want to be on there and you don't want to do fan chat, you don't have to. If you do, you can go on there because I had a blast. It was fun. So anyways,
it was fun, but I definitely can't watch every game like that.
Oh, hell no. That's why I said, well, if you got one on TV, Joe, we just get on Skype and you watch your TV and I watch my TV and we just pay attention to the comments, right? That's it.
My girlfriend would love that. Heather would think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, she could get in on the action. We get her a set of headphones. That'd be fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. All right. UVA, the all-time series between Syracuse and Virginia, sits at 6-10 in favor of the Cavaliers. The Syracuse Orange men and the Virginia Cavaliers first met in 1984 in the NCAA tournament, with the Cavaliers winning 63-55. The two teams first met in the ACC in 2014, with the game to decide first place in the ACC regular season. The Cavaliers would win 75-56, blowing a tight game open with about 9 minutes to go, according to orangehoops.org. The last game that was played between these two teams last year, March 11th, a loss 69-72 for the Cavs. Gerard, Boeheim, Dolezaj, Guerrier, and Griffin, your starting five. Boeheim with 31 points and Guerrier with 10 rebounds. Ken Pom has Virginia ranked behind us in 71st right now with an adjusted offense of 104.2. That's good enough for 107. And adjusted defense of 94. That's good enough for 56. So not terrible there. They are currently, as I mentioned, not great, 7-5. Losses against Navy, Houston, who's good. We remember Houston from last year, obviously. Iowa, James Madison, and a loss most recently to Clemson. That was their last game on December 22nd. So a little bit of breathing room for UVA coming into this game. Yeah. And, they're not on a COVID pause or anything like that. So they are practicing, and they were watching us play, I'm sure. So advantage, Cavaliers. And wins, big wins. I mean, what do you think, Joe? Providence. Okay, fair enough. Other wins, Radford, Coppin State, Georgia, Lehigh, and Dickinson. So, Joe.
Sir.
Am I off the rails saying that this isn't the same Virginia team we've seen? Maybe a decent defense, but a couple years ago when Virginia did struggle to score, they did beat us in the first game. That was the first game of the season, but we took them in the second game, and they just struggled to score. And it seems like it's kind of similar to that, but maybe even the defense isn't that good. Is that team 2 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, no, you're not crazy about that. Even when we look at the net, we jumped up to 93rd in the net, and Virginia 113. And according to the net so far, Virginia is only 1-5 versus teams quad 1 through quad 3. So 6 out of their 7 wins is against quad 4 teams. They're 6-0 against quad 4 teams. So again, like I said, the one win they did get was a quad 1 win against Providence. Providence right now is 28th in the net.
Okay.
And that's obviously compared to Syracuse, where we are 5-4 in quad 1 through quad 3 games, and then obviously we have that ugly 2-1 quad 4 record because of Colgate. So obviously we have that one bad loss. So I mean, I'd say that we have a worse loss than Virginia, but a lot more better wins, more better wins than Virginia. And you're right, they're not the same team. When you look at just their minutes that they got going on, and the fact that you talk about certain bench, struggles. They do go deeper, and they'll have guys come in a couple minutes here and there, but for the most part, they got 4 guys that are playing over 30 plus minutes, kind of just like us. And really, it starts with Kihei Clark, which it's got to be his last year.
I mean, holy cow! This guy is an 8th year senior right now. What is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Just being, obviously, he's probably the captain of the team. He's going to be the guy that's going to be pressuring Gerard. So Gerard's got 2 years of experience with that, and at least 3-4 games. So you got him, and you got guard Reese Beekman, who was a freshman last year, and he played a decent amount of minutes, but more of a defender. He's a 6'2" guy. And then when you look at the rest of their team, really, it's not saying that they're bad, but I mean, Armand Franklin is the other guard, right? 6'4". So they start 3 guards, and he is a transfer from Indiana. Came in averaging 11 points from Indiana last year, averaging 11 points this year. He's 6'4", junior. So has some experience, but again, you're looking at their top 3 guards are 5'10", 5'11", and then it's 6'2" and 6'4". So they're not really that big. You kind of look at, certain mismatching type situations. Who's going to guard Buddy? Who's going to guard Cole Swider or Jimmy? When you look at that, one of the main guys you got to worry about is they have another transfer, Jaden Gardner. He's
3-point
actually
shooter.
What's that?
Decent 3-point shooter.
Decent 3-point shooter. He's 6'6", forward, but he's 246.
Yeah.
So he's got a big body down there, and ironically, he's from Wake Forest, North Carolina, which is where I live. But he is a transfer from East Carolina, and this is his first year with Virginia, along with Franklin. And then to cap it off with their big guy, Caden Shedrick. He's a sophomore, 6'11", 230. So that's their starting lineup, and that's the five that play the majority of the minutes. And again, I mean, obviously, they're going to have some type of struggle because they got a new center / forward in there. That was, basically they have two guys that were true freshmen last year on their team, and they got two transfers with Kihei Clark and not really a deep bench. They got Francisco Cafaro, who's a junior, 7'1", 242, so another big body, but he doesn't play more than 10 minutes usually. And they also have
dude, though. That's a huge dude.
Huge dude. And they also got freshman Igor Milicic Jr., who is a 6'10", 224-pound freshman, but they say he's a guard. So say it as you will. He had 10 minutes against Clemson, and Cafaro had 6 minutes against Clemson. So they really don't go deep into the bench, which again, because of that, I wonder how much they actually will press us. And really, I mean, their half-court defense is going to bring. I don't know if they're going to press. So really, when you look at it, this is a team that's still trying to figure it out too. And just like Florida State earlier, I think that this is a perfect team to play early.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
They're going to be well coached, and who knows how Tony Bennett's going to get this team going throughout the season. So again, better to play them now than later for sure.
And they average 61. Well, 60 is called 62 points a game, which is I mean, it's kind of they don't generally score a lot. When they have their defense going, they don't have to. But the important thing is to speed these guys up. I mean, you got to run the floor with these fools. I mean, and this is going to be a perfect game to do it. Can Syracuse do it though? I'm not totally convinced that they can, because I just it's always in the game plan, right?
Well, I mean,
and I'm not seeing a ton of it. But this is a good team to do it against, is my point, as opposed to some of the others that we've played.
Yeah, and when you look at them too, I mean, Armand Franklin is taking the most 3-pointers along with Kihei Clark. So those are the main guys that we got to worry about when it comes to 3-pointers. And we know that they've done some sneaky stuff, with getting it at the free throw line. So really, I wonder possibly what Jaden Gardner might be able to do. Is that 6'6", 246? Is he the big body that's going to be there at the free throw line? I mean, I don't know if Caden Shedrick's going to be able to do anything there. But Virginia has always really, really struggled against our 2-3 when they don't have a guy that can play at the free throw line.
Right. Now,
when they've had, what's that?
I was just going to say, how many, because Kihei Clark is shooting 40% from three. How many is he taking?
47.
That's pretty freaking good, guys. It's really good.
19 of 47.
It's really good.
Yeah. Armand Franklin's 13 of 64. So
Joe's gonna have to be on his game, dude. I mean, he cannot have a game like he did against Cornell. I just don't think Samir is going to be able to hang with Kihei Clark. I just don't think the experience is there.
Well, I mean, again, I think the thing here where you want to look at it, I mean, against Clemson, right? They lost by 17 and still only shot 22 threes. So although they have a couple guys that can hit threes, I don't really think that is really what they're looking to do. And then, I mean, they got big body guys, and it seems like they probably try to, penetrate, which again, I think with these two transfers and then these two true freshmen, I think they're probably still going to struggle with this 2-3 zone, because you can't just drive down the middle of it and get a layup for the most part. So you need to be able to move it around, and knowing that there's only a couple guys that really can shoot the ball efficiently. I mean, I don't really know where their offense is going to come from, other than if they're going to dominate down low, because Jaden Gardner is going to move some players around with that body. and they got some big guys as far as Cage and Shedrick and some of the guys that come off the bench. So really, it's to me, it's rebounding. I think it's that, and then how our offense really handles their defense.
Okay. Well, it is that time. It is that time.
How about that?
Okay. Where we make a prediction. So, Joe, on the ACC level so far this year, you are 1-0. You got me at Syracuse at Florida State game. And so, with that said, I need to be redeemed here. I'm going to go. Look, low scoring game. I think Syracuse is going to have their normal struggles, a little bit here, a little bit there. I feel confident in this though, being a game that Syracuse can pull off. Gardner does bother me. Keokar bothers me. Even Cafaro bothers me. He bothers me a lot, even though what's he averaging? 14 minutes a game. So, I think if we can get some fans into the dome, which would be great, loosening, we can feed them alcohol now. So you guys can go there and get as liquored up as you'd like before halftime, and you should, and get rowdy and get loud, and see if you can help Syracuse pull this win off. Joe's going to need it. Not this Joe G, the other Joe G, Joe Girard. He's going to need it. He needs you guys. He needs people in the dome. He really does. And he thrives off of that. So if we can make some noise for Joe, I feel like he could have a good night against Key Clark. So I'm going to say 65-62 Syracuse. Joe. Get back to the cardiac Cuse. I mean, it's going to have to be. I mean, if they're going to pull it off, it's going to be close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be. I don't know. I look at Virginia and I just see a different team. I'm not saying that we're going to. All right. I'm going to go.
What do you do? Are you talking to yourself right now, bro? What are
69 to 62.
He's a crow. Yes, drum roll.
Syracuse.
Okay, so you and I both have UVA scoring the same amount of points. Okay, fair enough. I mean, couldn't come up with your own score for them. That's fine. All right. Well, good. Why are you shaking your head? Are you nervous about this game at all, honestly?
A little bit.
Is this still an 8 o'clock game or a 6 o'clock game? Why did I saw 6?
Yeah, we got moved to 6.
Okay,
we got moved
right.
to 6.
Okay, all right. That's what I thought. Okay. So 6 o'clock
Yeah.
Saturday, the first game of the new year for Syracuse to start off on the right foot against the Cavaliers, against a fresh roster. We have a 1-2, but still. Against a struggling Virginia Cavalier team, in my opinion, currently.
Yeah.
We'll see. But all of these games all the time, and, you know, with the way they're coached, obviously, total class act and a tremendous coach. So,
yeah, if we show up with effort and toughness, then I think that we win this. I don't want to say easily, but I mean, I think that we kind of handled the game in spurts. I mean, the only way that I can see them not taking this game is if they just completely, you know, Jesse gets in foul trouble.
possible.
And they just completely just dominate down low. Just dominate rebounds, all that kind of stuff.
Possible. Both of those things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Hope for the best and expect the best. So, all right. We appreciate all of you for hanging out with us. We really do. Thanks for tuning in. No. All right. That's the one. There we go. All right. We appreciate all of you for hanging out with us. We will get back here Sunday. This is the last show of the year. So, Happy New Year. Hope everybody has a safe, happy New Year. And we'll see you next year. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.